Robert Pattinson. What do you think about that? And then also, what do you guys think about a Scott Adkins Batman? Let me know what you think about that down below in the comments. All right, next up, Obi-Wan Kenobi series, unfortunately, was put on a brief hold. Now, there is good news to this, and there is bummer news to this. I'm not going to say bad because it doesn't mean anything negative per se for the project itself, because the hold actually could prove beneficial. But I'll let you guys be the judge of that in the comments, all right? Let me X out of this ad. There's all kinds of ads that pop up on these websites. All right, especially Collider. Collider's like ad addicted. Like they've got billions of ads every single second of the day. All right, so first let's read this. Exclusive. Obi-Wan Disney Plus series on hold as crew was sent home. Last week, troubling rumors began swirling about the upcoming Disney Plus series revolving around the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ewan McGregor is poised to reprise his role from the Star Wars prequels in a story set 8 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. Screenwriter Hossein Amini from Drive and the director Deborah Chow, The Mandalorian, were tapped to spearhead the series, and production was on pace to begin this year. These rumors hinted at potential trouble behind the scenes, and while we're hearing the show isn't canceled, we are hearing that it's been delayed. Two independent sources with knowledge of the situation tell Collider that the Obi-Wan series has been put on hold, as the crew that had assembled at Pinewood Studios in London was sent home. A time frame was not given, but the crew was told that the show would be down indefinitely. So let's talk for a second before we continue on to the part about Kathleen Kennedy. There has been a pattern of people hired on a project for Star Wars by Kathleen Kennedy to do this, to make the project go. And then deep into the project, it gets canceled, or there's issues where creative differences, or it's just not working out, or something, like there's always something. Now, the only one that I can think of that didn't have this issue has been The Mandalorian. And that's because, for the most part, Jon Favreau has had the entire thing under control. Kathleen Kennedy, of course, had to get him on that project, but then he was the one that got everybody else on board. Deborah Chow, Taika Waititi, Dave Filoni, Rick Fukuyama, if that's how you say his name. Everybody that is on the project was pretty much brought together by Jon Favreau. And so he kind of said, thank you. I'm going to make this happen for you. You don't have to worry about it. He took care of everything, and it's working out well. Now, with this project, with the Obi-Wan series, it is under the direct supervision of Kathleen Kennedy, like pretty much everything else, including Rogue One, which I freaking love, Solo, which nobody saw, but those who did were like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad. It just flopped because no one saw it, which could be the case for Birds of Prey. But I'll get to that in a minute. With this, this kind of repeat pattern. I mean, it happened for Episode 7. It happened for not for Mando, but for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, for The Last Jedi, for The Rise of Skywalker, for Rogue One, for Solo, and now for this. I mean, everything had people come on board, and then they were like, oh, just kidding, that doesn't work out, we don't like this, after they'd already gotten started. So they get started, the producer's supposed to go, hey, are we on the same page? This is the plan. Do you like the plan? Yes or no? We want to know if we should hire someone else. They say, okay, great, we like the plan, this is working out. And then they hire them. But in this case with Star Wars, it looks like Kathleen Kennedy's not doing that very well. Or she's just saying, you're super talented, join our project. Okay, they hire him, and then she's like, months in, she's like, this is the plan, this is what we have going on. Maybe she gave him a plan, and then she says, we're changing it, and they say, no, I don't like that, and then she's like, okay, bye. That could be the case. Hard to say since we are not in those closed door meetings, but the fact of the matter remains that every project except for Mando has had this exact same issue, and the buck stops at the top, guys. Kathleen Kennedy, I am a fan of because I like Star Wars Episode 7, even though it is totally a carbon copy of Episode 4. I did like Episode 7. So Episode 7, Force Awakens, was good. I hated The Last Jedi, and even though there was some good things in there, overall as a Star Wars film, I cannot stand to watch that film anymore. And then Rise of Skywalker is enjoyable, entertaining. There is clear and obvious problems, but I feel like because of my deep-rooted frustrations with what The Last Jedi did, I'm more forgiving towards those things because it made me feel acknowledged. It made me my frustrations with The Last Jedi feel acknowledged, so I'm okay with it. For the most part, there's tons of issues, and I can joke with you guys about that in the comments or on Instagram all the time. I totally do. So I'm with you on that. I see the problems. I just don't care as much. 7, 8, and 9 to me are basically legends. They're not canon in my head. I know they are canon, but in my head, it's not really. You know what I mean? Like Mando is canon. Rogue One is canon. Solo is canon. I actually do like Solo a lot. And so anyway, let's continue reading. I don't want to keep trailing. I know, guys, I ramble. I totally do. Let me know if you guys want me to keep that in a separate thing. Because if you do want that, just pop into the chat, okay? Just click on the live thing and just go, like, can you make a separate video for that? Or, just say like, hey man, you're rambling. Stay on point. That's a good one. So anyway, we've got this. We're hearing that Lucasfilm president and Obi-Wan producer Kathleen Kennedy was not happy with the scripts. Sources tell us that what will most likely happen next is the scripts will be reworked with the hopeful goal of reassembling this summer. But there's always the possibility that the time frame could shift. That's frustrating because it was at Star Wars, what was it? D23. At D23, months prior to this announcement, Kathleen Kennedy had announced that the scripts had been done months ago. So she said that the scripts were already done and finished and they were ready to get going, and that she had already looked over them. It was like, you don't say that they're done if you're not happy with them. You know what I mean? Unless she hadn't really read them, unless she hadn't really taken a look at them. And then once they started going, she's like, let me read that. And then she doesn't like it. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? So in my head, this again only points to a failure for Kathleen Kennedy to get her team on the same page. I think she needs one of two things. First of all, if you're worried about the Obi-Wan series, I don't think you need to be, because the same kind of thing happened to Solo, and I think that movie turned out okay. Like, there was a few things that were, it's like, oh, okay, that's unnecessary. Like the dice thing was a little on the nose. How he gets his name, like, you're alone? All right then, Han Solo. Like, that was okay. That's not terrifically well written. I get it. It could have just been his name. You know what I mean? I've got some, and the L337 droid was annoying as heck, but they killed her off. So I was actually justified. I felt like, oh my gosh, can you please get rid of this droid? And then she dies. So I was like, oh, that's great. And then now I watch that movie, and whenever I see her, I'm like, she's going to die. So that's great. And I take comfort in that. And I actually do really enjoy the movie now. In this case, it's just, with Obi-Wan, you don't have to worry yet, because if they're in the middle of the production now, the smart thing to do, if they see a problem, is to give the project more time. With Solo, they did not give it more time, and they ate through their entire marketing budget with by having to reshoot basically everything. They waited too long with Solo, so 80% of the film was already shot, and then no one would touch the project except Ron Howard, and he came in and said, "Listen, I want to do this, but you have to let me reshoot the entire thing." And they were like, "Well, crap, there goes our entire budget." But okay, fine. and they had no more room to market. No one knew the movie was coming out, and the only people that did were people like me who hated The Last Jedi. So people were frustrated, and they were like, I'm not going to see a Disney Star Wars film, and they did not go see Solo for one of three reasons. They didn't know about it, they hated The Last Jedi, and they were boycotting, or they didn't want to see a Solo film without Harrison Ford. Those were the three reasons why people didn't go see Solo. And that's why it financially failed, and that's why we're probably, unfortunately, not going to see Solo 2. I hope we do, though, because I really do want to see where they go with Crimson Dawn. Ray Park and Sam Witwer cooperatively playing Darth Maul. I cannot wait to see that saga if they ever choose to do that. I think they should do that on Disney Plus in a series format. That'd be great. But nevertheless, back to the subject matter at hand. Basically, they say pretty much everything that I just said. Many people have been talking about this. I'm not the only one that sees this. It's the resounding gong that's been going off about people that don't like Kathleen Kennedy. I do actually think Kathleen Kennedy is a good producer. She should not have any control over the creative aspect of Star Wars, though. You should give that to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni because they know Star Wars more than anyone. Clearly, the people that did 7, 8, and 9 had no idea what they were talking about, no idea what they're doing. It was not great. 7 was not bad. 7 was good. I think 7 was actually okay, but it was too repetitive of episode 4. They literally just took episode 4, said copy, paste, scale, and they just made it bigger. Everything was bigger. Shinier, bigger, newer, new names. And yeah, so it was the same stormtroopers. They just took Emperor Palpatine, made him bigger, literally bigger, with Snoke bigger. The Death Star was now the Starkiller base. Everything was bigger. It was the same thing but bigger, which is frustrating. Including the cantina, which I thought was hilarious. They literally took the cantina from Tatooine and put it in a foresty planet with Maz Kanata and made it a palace instead of a thing, but it's still a bar. You know what I mean? It makes for a good map on Battlefront, though. That's nice. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, really. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Are you worried about Obi-Wan? I personally am not, because yes, there was an issue with the script they're not happy with, but they basically said, if it needs more work, we will give it more work and more time to get it done the right way. So even though there's an issue, I think they're handling it well. So I'm excited. Plus, it's going on to Disney Plus. They won't have to put a terrible amount of money into marketing, although they will, but they don't have to. So I'm glad that they caught this. Even though it wasn't early on, it was still before they got through most of their shooting. So that's great. Anyways, let me know what you guys have to say about it in your opinion down below, because I love having those conversations with you guys. Agree or disagree, that's not the point. My point is to have the conversation at all. So let's go on to the next thing. And the next topic is Disney Plus. I'm sorry. The MCU might be getting